So I'm just curious, we're in a bonus session here, or the Q&A for the backstage passes. Did anybody go ahead and do the simple exercise or the more complete? Did anyone start the workbook?
I started it, but I did not up and out it.
Okay, so Jill started it. Does anyone have any questions for Jill?
Well, what's your feedback on what you did and why you didn't go further?
I didn't go further because of time. I had something else that I needed to do, so I was doing this in between some other things.
So, Peter, when somebody says that to you, when you're teaching somebody in a group, how do you respond to that? See, I would have asked Jill a different question. I'd be like, Jill, you're the only one in the whole group that did the assignment. Like, what magical powers do you possess that nobody else has? Like, do you have this massive abundance of time? Like, are you just super intelligent? Like, what magical powers do you have that nobody else has? That's the question I would have asked her, Peter.
Right. So, since I'm not intimately familiar with the materials and the process, I'm trying to diagnose. Why did you do it? Why did you start in the first place?
Right.
What did you find when you got through it? And then
what
was the attraction? Because if only one person did it, then what did that one person see that the others didn't? Because, if it's just about function, in other words, somebody just decided to do it, as opposed to they wanted to get something out of it that they thought it was providing.
Right.
Somewhere in there, you got to sell it, market it, and then when somebody's tasting it and trying it, why are they not going further, faster?
Right. Good. So, Jill, what is it that caused you to actually do it? I mean, it was sent out a number of times to everybody. What do you think caused it? Why did you do it, Jill?
First of all, I opened it up and I looked at it because the value that I got out of the workbook from the mastermind seminars was unsurpassed to anything else that I've done. And so what I did was open this book, and I printed it out, and I read through it, the whole thing, and then I went back and started to work on the exercises, but I was expecting this, and I am expecting this to be just as meaningful to me as what the Mastermind Seminar workbook was.
Okay. So, in my experience with people, this is different than to me, it's very different than a classroom, than a college class or any other type of class. It's like, I'm not expecting to babysit or nurture people. Like, it's a big boys, a big girls class. And so I'm expecting I shouldn't have to tell people twice and even once. It's like, and so is that a wrong expectation, do you think, Peter?
I think I don't think it's necessarily completely wrong, but it's hard to force feed something to somebody unless it's mandated, right? So in that sense, you have to create something that you can sell, market, and then the process behind it has to be attractive to pull people through it. But I agree, if you've got to pull people in, then to me there's something at the front end broken.
Huh.
Hey, Mark?
Yes.
Can I submit a response?
Please.
And I welcome anybody to correct me if I may be off base here. I think there's two ways to motivate people fundamentally, a reward or a consequence. So with, we're all adults and we're accountable to, if we paid the money, put in the time, and if you're not willing to put in the time, I would suggest maybe kind of a halfway point. It's like then you shouldn't be on these calls. I mean, that's kind of a consequence, but the reward is being on the calls and, kind of gleaming knowledge and perspective. So maybe it's, and I'm just throwing this out, 3 strikes and you're out. If you're not doing it, you're not willing to participate, then don't be here.
See, that triggers...
Not in a punitive way.
Right.
But just matter of fact, like, if you don't care, then I can't care. And thanks.
So that triggered something, because I've been part of some groups to where if you don't do the homework, you don't participate. I mean, you can sit in and listen to the people who have done it, because a lot of times the people who haven't done the homework have the most to say, and it's like, why are you even talking? So I love your idea. Again, not punitive. It's just, hey, if you go ahead and do the assignment, then you go ahead and come prepared with questions, insights, thoughts, feedback. Great suggestion, Paul. I love it. I think we'll implement that. Ski, what would you like to accomplish today?
Happy New Year, everybody. I would like to explore some of the things that people are doing right now in leveraging each other. Some people like Jen and I have heard. Trying to remember.
Teresa.
I remember, but I talked to already. But who are people that are already starting to use leverage with relationships on people on the call?
I am like crazy. Jill is, but she doesn't know it. Nicole is, but she doesn't know it. Rosanna's using it. Go ahead, Rosanna.
I am working on it, actually, in just relationships in general, is knowing that the time that I spend helping others should come back to me at least twofold.
So what would be an example of that?
Well, considering the 7 children that I have, and doing the things I do for them, having them at least come back with helping me in at least 1 or 2 areas so that I can save time and at least break even.
Nice. That's very nice. Cool. Others?
I'm actually working with Teresa on the Master and Monetize. So we're trying to work together and see how each of us can help each other leverage more. Now, she's not part of this course, but I chose to work with her. She has similar goals that I have on the Master and Monetize, but I want to be able to leverage her thoughts and her connections and help her do the same thing with me.
Cool. So what Ski and Rosanna can do is if you go to leverage.dnaforsuccess.com, that's an interactive website. It's not it's not a static website. It's not just to get you to register and then you don't work on the site beyond that. So if you go to leverage.dnaforsuccess, go to members only, you can either post, a question or post a success story. This is what's helping me. This is how I'm leveraging it. And so you can go on there, post a question, post, whatever it is that you're, if you're having challenges with it, with the, material, if you're having, whatever it is, it can be good, bad, otherwise it doesn't matter. Obviously, if they're good and they're examples, other people then go to this and they start seeing the dialogue, they start seeing the wins, and they're going to want to, like the Crazy Dancing Man video, they're going to want to participate. They're going to want to play. So, Rosanna and Ski, do you think you both will do that? Do you think you'll go here and post something today?
Already on it.
Yep, we'll do that.
And if I hadn't done that last piece, do you both think you would have done it or not?
Yeah.
Nope. I didn't. No, because I didn't know that we had this function there. So
cool.
That we were actually using this that way. So that's good to know.
Cool. All right. Nicole, what would you like to accomplish today?
Well, I did want to accomplish how to leverage Alan without Alan being present. But now I'm trying to figure out how can I leverage this workbook with my students.
Okay.
I don't know where you want to start.
Yep. So I've got a whole bunch of ideas because I understand what Nicole contextually is saying. So she's with Tanglewood Conservatories. She's director of marketing or something like that. She also leads up Untangled Minds, which is a nonprofit organization. And so she's doing both of those things. So I know how Nicole can bring tremendous value to Ski and Paul. And I know how Alan can as well. But building those conceptual bridges, those conceptual connections for leverage, that takes a little bit of time. And so, it'd probably take, Nicole and Ski and Paul, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to get on the phone, maybe the three of them, and say, hey, here's a little bit about me. What kind of connections, do you all have? And so Paul's passion about mental pain, emotional pain, and what Nicole's dealing with is with students is huge. I mean, it's just huge. And so all of those things, often we have interconnections of things that we don't see, especially outside of our industry. So if we're in the mortgage industry, or if we're in real estate, or if we're in automotive, or if we're in, whatever industry we're in, we don't see how other people in other industries can bring us value and we can bring them value. Tom, thoughts, questions, ideas, insight?
Not really at this point. It's just kind of interesting listening to the conversation. And, yeah, it's...
What's interesting about it?
Well, and I'm kind of the latecomer to the leverage process, but when I look at the individual, as a combined group, but when I look at the individual pieces of the leverage, been through almost everything that's involved. So I don't know. To me, and maybe I think weird like you. I don't know, but those things jump out at me personally. Aside from what I could do if I leveraged other people with it. And in fact, I'm, trying to take your, app and having some people evaluate it and look at it to see if we can leverage that process with some of the things that I've got going on, and which I think you know. And so it's surprising to me that it just doesn't jump out more at people. I don't know. I mean,
Peter, do you have any...
Sometimes they say you can lead the horse to water, but you know what? Maybe you just tie him up and leave him in the desert for a while, and the horse salt the oats. And then I just, and I guess at my age, I don't really care at this point anymore. You know, because I'm sick of doing dumb. I have no time, and I hope I don't, step on anybody here, but I have no time in my life at this point. I'll be glad to help anybody do anything that they want to accomplish as long as they take the first step. If they're not willing to do that, I just don't have the time nor the desire to try and push people like I used to. I just don't. So if that's the path you're walking down, God bless you. Keep walking, because you're going nowhere.
Peter, any thoughts you have? You're on.
I guess maybe he didn't like mine. I won't get off the phone for this crazy guy.
No, I don't think so. I think he might be on mute. Elise, what would you like to accomplish?
Sorry, you're right. I was talking to you and not realizing I was on mute.
No worries.
No, I was laughing, and so I'm not sure how I would add to that. But I understand Tom's comments. There's, with these things, you either have to see opportunity and then start working it to find it, and its relevance to you, because otherwise, if you're being dragged down the path, you're not going to learn anything anyway, and it just wastes everybody's time. So.
Elise, what would you like to accomplish today, or questions you have?
Yeah, no specific question really. I think just focused in on helping everyone take action from the leverage course. So that could be, working through the workbook with our buddies, or working to apply leverage ourselves. So
cool.
Has everybody gone through personality masteries?
I haven't.
Some have not. Some have.
I just started it.
And what's your view so far?
So far, so good. I like, I've already had somewhat of an idea of, what the personality masteries is. Now going deeper, so I get a better understanding, because I'm at a very surface level, I think, at this stage. So how do I learn it more deeply and then learn how to utilize it? And that's where I'm at.
Have you had any insights to yourself thus far?
Oh, yeah. And I think at the surface level, I've got some insights into myself. The way that I've looked at it in the past, for one thing, was a very, very fundamental qualifier for people that I was talking to, and now I'm starting to see it as a little bit better way of understanding them better, so that I can communicate with them. In other words, instead of using it to eliminate people who I want to talk to, find out how I can understand them better, so that maybe I get to their level and communicate to them in that way. Whereas I have a tendency perhaps to, all right, well, that's not somebody I want to talk to based on what I found from it. So that's maybe an aha that I got out of it so far.
Based on what you've said, anybody else that's on this call that hasn't started this program, if you need more than what he just said to get interested enough to understand this program and get involved, I don't get it. I mean, it was one of the most insightful things that I've done in my life. And I've had a lot of these personality programs. You got to fill in all this stuff, answer all these questions, send them off, they mail it back, give you all this explanation, and you know what? This is the simplest, fastest, most accurate that I've seen.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though, Tom. Fastest is the big thing, because trying to figure this out using any of the other types of tests that are out there, you can't do it instantaneously. This is almost instantaneous. So that's huge. That part of it's huge.
And I've had I probably have used Mark more than anybody, and abuse him too. But I can tell you there are a number of times when I've been talking about this application to some people, and they're looking at me like stars in the eyes, and I pick up the phone, dial Mark's number, and ask him if he's got just a second to talk to this person. Never met him, never talked to him, doesn't know him, they don't know him, and in a matter of minutes, he's nailed them to the wall. And to see the reaction that these folks have is just unbelievable.
So this connects all back into Leverage, all back into the mobile app. The new channels are being tested where you can get your own channel, which means that it'll go ahead and anybody that you give it to will go into your channel, watch your videos. You control the whole process, the whole delivery, everything. It's crazy. And then everybody that they give it to goes into your channel too. Paul, any closing comments, thoughts, questions, insights that you have?
I just have a question or comment in terms of the amount of information that you send out is it's a double-edged sword. It's awesome and it's overwhelming. So my question for the group is, I mean, you could send out 9 things in a given day, and so managing my life and my job and everything else, is there? Because I liked your idea, DNA for Life, where you can post, you know, almost like a social media content where you can look at questions, answers, things like that. I'm just trying to figure out how to determine what is critical, urgent, important. You know, that whole time management matrix.
Tom actually,
I'm a little lost.
Yeah, Tom actually is probably the strongest it's ever been. At one point, he was on, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mastermind calls a week with me for a couple years, and he seemed to be able, you know, keep up with it all. Tom, when people are getting a deluge of emails, how do you handle, you know, all that's coming at you from, you know, the infinite flow?
Well, and I'm sure Peter will attest to this too. You know, when you're running organizations, you tend to get a bunch of stuff. And the one that used to really drive me crazy is when somebody was carbon copied on something and felt like they needed to chime right in. That was really not that was, in my estimation, not what carbon copy meant. But the point was, you got to be precise. You got to look at the subject line, see what's there, breeze through it, and move on. And either send it to somebody or delete it or file it. And, so I don't know. Mark, I've got to go in just about a minute. So
thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. I actually have another appointment, too. Welcome to the new year. There's so many great things on it. Appreciate you guys being part of the, you know, backstage passes because, you know, you're really forging, you know, the future of Leverage. Like Peter's suggestion on coming up with a workbook and Paul's suggestion on going through it. And the biggest difference, I think, in personality masteries is if somebody goes through the online lessons alone, they will get a small fraction of benefit out of it. But if they come together as a group with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people doing it together, they accomplish like 10 times more. So hopefully this has been helpful. Can't wait for next week. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. Connect with your buddy. Your art mentor should be connecting with you. You have 2 art buddies. We'll be going into that. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.